Welcome to Global Discovery, the channel where we explore powerful stories, global cultures, and the ideas shaping the world today. Here, we go beyond headlines and surface conversations to uncover the deeper truths behind music, culture, history, and global movements. From rising music industries to inspiring journeys of artists and creators, Global Discovery brings you stories that connect people across borders. In today's video, we're diving into a fascinating topic that many fans debate, but rarely examine from a bigger perspective: the real business difference between SB19 and the K-pop system. While most comparisons focus on performances, visuals, and choreography, there's a much deeper story happening behind the scenes. This episode explores how different industry structures shape success, ownership, and long-term legacy in global pop music. Heat, heat, heat. We thought it might break us just to endure. When people compare SB19 and K-pop, the conversation usually focuses on vocals, visuals, and choreography. But that's only the surface. The real difference, the one rarely discussed, is business power. Behind the stages and beyond the fandom debates, two completely different systems operate. One is factory-built, highly optimized, and tightly controlled. The other is artist-driven, risk-heavy, and painfully built from the ground up. This isn't about who dances better. It's about who owns the work, who controls the future, and who benefits when the spotlight fades. And once you understand that difference, you'll never see global power the same way again. If one of the comments section explodes, like subscribe and share, because this isn't a fan war, it's a business breakdown. This conversation isn't SB19 versus K-pop artists. It's one business philosophy compared to another. K-pop operates as a highly structured industry. Companies design groups from the ground up. Training, branding, music direction, image management, and global rollout are planned years in advance. It's efficient, polished, and scalable. The system works, but the system always comes first. SB19 didn't come from that machine. They rose outside of it without corporate protection or guaranteed visibility. There was no built-in ecosystem and no inherited pipeline. That difference matters. When people compare SB19 and K-pop purely as idols, they miss the real story. One is the result of a perfected industry system. The other is the outcome of self-determined survival. This isn't artist versus artist. It's industry-built success versus self-built enterprise. K-pop companies invest heavily at the beginning. Years of training, housing, coaching, styling, and production support are provided before debut even happens. But that investment isn't free. It's eventually recouped. Trainees sign contracts where early earnings often repay years of preparation before real profit begins. SB19's path was the opposite. There was no massive startup funding and no corporate safety net. They trained while working, financed their own growth, and carried the risk themselves. Every failure belonged to them. Every lesson was learned the hard way. In K-pop, the company takes on the financial risk and maintains control. In SB19's journey, the artists carried the risk and fought for ownership. That's the real contrast. Ownership isn't something the industry simply hands out. It's something you earn by surviving without protection. In pop music, fame is loud, but ownership is quiet, and that quiet difference determines careers. In K-pop, songs are typically owned by the company. Publishing rights, masters, and royalties often remain with the label rather than the idols themselves. Artists perform the music, promote it worldwide, and help increase its value. But long-term control usually stays elsewhere. SB19's path has evolved differently. Over time, they've taken more control over songwriting, production, and creative direction. That shift isn't about ego, it's about survival. Ownership determines who still earns when streaming slows, tours end, and trends move on. Charts disappear and viral moments fade, but music catalogs generate income forever. This is where careers quietly survive or disappear, not on stage, but in contracts few people ever read. K-pop idols are not just performers, they are carefully managed brands. Public image, language, behavior, and sometimes even silence are strategically controlled. It creates consistency, protects investments, and minimizes risk. From a business perspective, it's efficient. SB19 operates with far fewer filters. They speak openly, make mistakes publicly, and show exhaustion, frustration, and growth along the way. That openness isn't accidental. It reflects a different philosophy. Freedom carries more risk because there is no corporate shield. One mistake can spread quickly, but freedom also builds credibility. Audiences today don't just follow perfection, they trust authenticity. Over time, honesty becomes a business advantage rather than a weakness. When the image is real, it doesn't expire. High visibility doesn't always mean high income. In traditional K-pop models, revenue is divided across many layers: companies, producers, managers, investors, and distribution partners. Even successful tours, endorsements, and merchandise sales are often split in ways that favor the system that funded the launch. An idol can be globally recognized and still financially limited. SV19's rise was slower, but structurally different. As they gained greater control over their operations and partnerships, they strengthened their share in touring, branding, and merchandise decisions. Growth wasn't instant, it was strategic. The result is a foundation built for sustainability, rather than simple exposure. Fame may look impressive online, but wealth is built quietly, contract by contract. In the long run, ownership beats optics every time. K-pop fandoms are powerful, organized, loyal, and extremely efficient. They drive streams, sales, and trends with near military precision. From a business standpoint, fandoms function like elite marketing engines. A10 operates differently. SV19 supporters didn't simply consume the product, they grew alongside it. Fans witnessed the struggles, supported the early risks, and felt invested in the group's survival, not just its success. That creates a very different relationship. Transactional loyalty depends on constant output. Emotional investment grows from shared history. When fans feel like stakeholders rather than customers, support lasts beyond trends. That's how longevity is built, not through hype, but through trust. K-pop's global success is not accidental. It's engineered. Companies plan international expansion years in advance with multilingual content, overseas partnerships, global tours, and synchronized marketing across platforms. It's a top-down push designed for scale and saturation. SB19's international growth followed a different model. There was no massive global marketing budget and no prepackaged international launch. Their reach expanded through performances, fan sharing, and word-of-mouth momentum. That difference matters. Pushed exposure creates awareness. Pulled attention creates commitment. Organic growth converts differently because it's earned rather than imposed. Audiences feel like they discovered something themselves instead of being sold to. K-pop idols operate with corporate protection, structured teams, legal support, and crisis management. But even that safety net has limits. When contracts end or priorities shift, protection can disappear quickly. SB19 never had that cushion. Every decision carried personal risk financially, creatively, and publicly. If something failed, there was no system to absorb the loss. Survival depended on adaptability. That kind of pressure shapes artists differently. Safety nets create polished performers. Survival mode creates decision makers. Comfort builds stars who shine inside systems. Struggle builds leaders who create systems. Every pop career eventually faces the same question. What happens when the attention moves on? Idol hype is powerful, but it's temporary. Trends shift, generations change, and visibility fades no matter how high the peak once was. This is where ownership quietly determines survival. SB19's trajectory goes beyond performing. Songwriting, production involvement, creative leadership, and business decision-making open doors to second and third careers as producers, executives, mentors, and industry leaders. These roles don't rely on algorithms or youth. Most bands never think this far ahead. They see the stage, not the structure. But when touring slows and charts stop updating, only those who own their work can remain relevant without needing constant visibility. Longevity isn't about staying famous. It's about staying powerful even after fame fades. This conversation was never about tearing K-pop down. K-pop is one of the most efficient pop systems ever built, and it works. But SB19 represents something different. They show what happens when artists fight for control in a system that wasn't designed for them. When growth is slower, risk is higher, but ownership is non-negotiable. That model doesn't reject polish. It redefines success. The future of Asian pop won't belong to a single formula, but it will favor artists who own their voice, their work, and their direction.